Hey, how you doing? Just sitting here tonight, doing a little thinking. I don't know if I ever told you my couple car stories. Well, I had a really nice car. It was a Pontiac, and I had everything pretty well tuned on it. I had the engine tuned really well. It gave really good mileage and had good power. I rebuilt the suspension and bought a sway bar for it. I also got my first set of BF Goodrich tires on that car. It handled amazing. One time, well, I was a very important person before, and I was encouraged to learn how to drive to protect the business. And it's came handy a couple times. It's really handy in like winter driving because you can handle your vehicle and know how it's going to react and stuff like that. And there's been a couple of situations I had ran into where it came in really handy and was able to maintain my vehicle and drive it out the other side. The one time I was leaving work and the road was just a little wet from like a little bit of rain or something, but it didn't look too bad, and that's when I was kind of new to driving, but I was still had practice under my belt. Anyway, I always exited the far driveway and then get up to speed, go around the bend. Excuse me. And proceed to go home. One time, and that's the time I was talking about the rain. There was just a little bit of rain on the road. It looked dry, but it was still a little bit wet. It had rained, but it was drying up. And I had hit that bend, and my car snapped like 90 degrees sideways. And I was able to catch it, drive it out in the bend and out the other side, and keep it on the road and intact. Then another time, I was in a 90 Oldsmobile 98, and it's front wheel drive. It was snowing out, the roads were covered. I went down this hill that has elevation change plus a bend on it, so it's just made for you to just slide off the road. But as soon as I hit it and started going around the bend, the car snapped again 90 degrees sideways, and I was able to just drive it out the whole bend and then come out the other side. It was really good. Like when I say snapped, it just snapped like 90 degrees sideways as I drove it around there. And that was at like slow speed limit and stuff like that. Just happened the car got loose. And one time for $400, I had bought a 80, I want to say 6 Monte Carlo. It was really rough. It had like the worst tune on it, like no tune at all, and probably the factory plugs and stuff like that. Because when I got that car wouldn't even do the limit in the whole concession. It didn't matter if my foot was to the floor, if I was power shifting, manipulating the throttle, nothing would make that car move. I drove it home like that, and I was originally planning on using it for parts, but it was better shape than I had imagined, and it was still rough, mind you, but not bad shape. But I brought that car home. First thing I did is I pulled the spark plugs on it, cleaned them up, because it was still a week away from payday. And I just did what I could do to get it into better shape with like no money. So I cleaned up the plugs, and I think I had an air filter, which were cheap back in the day, like $5. And put the filter on, put the plugs in that were refurbished, and then it was good. It would bear the needle on it. And that car, I think that was my most engine tuned car I owned. I had even spent the money and put a good exhaust on it and stuff like that, and I did some more tuning and threw some parts at it, and eventually it was a masterpiece. It really was. It was rough, and it wasn't worth like selling, but like for me to drive, it was just a really well tuned car. It got good mileage, handled really good, had like the best of everything. Cheap too. Cheap as I could afford or put on it. Now I didn't do much suspension tuning. I did rebuild the springs and shocks and stuff like that, but and then I added a rear sway bar. The front, I think I left alone, or I used the SS piece. Plus I put on polyurethane bushings, and that made it corner very flat. It was such an excellent car in the snow. Like excellent. I had that car a number of years. I had ended up putting a SS nose on it and a spoiler. Never painted nothing. It was just res ride, right? But a couple of years ago, I got an award for the most resiest car. That came with a cash prize. And it was in a similar car. Just base though, not even tuned or nothing, just how I bought it. My Pontiac, or my second B-body car was an amazing car. That was the white one you've seen pictures of before. That one I used my old parts off of the other B-body, and put my sway bar on it. I actually had rims on that car, but I didn't like the tires. So I went back to steel wheels and BF Goodrich tires, and it was immaculate. That car was excellent, excellent, excellent. I had that super tune. My best. I made it from here to Niagara Falls, which is like 100 kilometers, on $5 worth of gas. I think the wind was with me that night a little bit, but it wasn't blowing very much. But yeah, that was, and it didn't even have overdrive. It was really cool. But that's back in the days when I could just go walk into a store and grab the Bosch plugs for it. Those Bosch plugs are the shit. Bosch spark plugs and BF Goodrich tires. I think that's the key to a good car. Yeah, it's not much I do to my cars. I really like a stock vehicle. But I do add a couple things to it to make it more efficient. Well, have a good night, guys.